Well, thanks for joining us again. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is Newspaper Review. I am Moses Humphrey. Now let's meet the team.
And I am Chukuma Okoro. Thanks for joining us.
And we have Dele Fanimo with us as well. He's a seasoned reporter and VOP in-house analyst. Welcome to the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dele.
All right, let's dive into it. The papers are before us. From the Vanguard, I'd like to start with the Vanguard this morning. Yes, from the Vanguard, politicians disagree on why your position is crumbling. Writers, judiciary should rise up to its responsibility. Ekpeyon, it shows a profound crisis in our political landscape. Oyelisi, LP fingers use of state resources to lure opposition figures. Our democracy is facing challenges, CUPP scribe. Principles in short supply in our climb, ex-PDP spokesman, Ologbondiyan. Stomach interest responsible for defections in ruling party, Woko. Now, of course, before we dive into other stories now, this right here, all of it moving towards 2027 and politicians are pointing fingers at, political parties rather, are pointing fingers at what might be the cause of why the politics in Nigeria seems to be dwindling, as against what you have in other climes, and would always want to, take a look at the US, where if you're a Democrat, you stay a Democrat for a long time. You rarely, very rarely see
it so, for some reasons. Up until, even as bad as UPN and PNDs, the party was bigger than the elected officials. At that time, I could recall vividly that Awolowo was the chief superintendent in UPN, and AMA Akinloye, Augustus Meredith Akinloye, was the party chairman. In fact, his house in Ibadan was even bigger than the State House in Lagos. Because whatever he says, I'm not talking about size, but in activities. Okay. Whatever he says is always the law, was always the law then. So, but suddenly, and at that time, you are proud to be a card-carrying member of a political party. Because you also found that party. As far back, I still saw my grandfather's card as recent as about 4 years ago, where they pay shillings per time to the political party. So that gives you that sense of ownership of that political party. And nobody comes around to lord it over in that political party, even at local government level, at state level, not to talk of national level. But what you have today, the moment somebody becomes a local government chairman, he becomes the owner of that party in that local government. And whatever anybody wants to do in that party, there is always a recourse. Whereas this man is just first among equals. I was elected by the political party. And today, whoever is the president in this country is the owner of the party that took him to that office. And as long as we have all this, there is no way. Chairmen invite governors to their house to discuss. But now, governors invite chairmen to the government house to discuss. And the party chairman would know that he must not cross the line, because it doesn't take the governor or the president to remove him, because all other office holders in that political party belongs to the governor or the president. So what we have now is just platform, and that's why it's very easy. Don't forget that at the inception of this republic, you recall that it was Bola Ige that drafted AMPP, AD, and PDP manifesto. He drafted the three. So They are like triplets born of the same mother.
Okay. Yes, I like the fact that you said that they are triplets born of the same mother. Essentially, I would think that our politics is the value of our politics, our political culture is more or less dwindling because not because of lack of ideology, but because of the poverty in the land. You know, so what they call stomach infrastructure. That is why you see a lot of defections. I'll say that in the light of the fact that if you look at even in the US, which you use as a benchmark, you know, you see that the line between the progressives and the conservatives, like the Democrats and the GOP, it's a very blurred line. It's very thin. So that is why you don't see this frequency of people porting from one party to the other. Because the ideologies, though we used to have extreme ideologies, but we have a politics that is gradually coalescing to the point that you have bloodlines in terms of ideology. I say that in the light of the fact that if you go to Congress, you see there's this kind of bipartisan affiliation, you know, on issues. Even at the point of disagreement, they are able to arrive at a consensus at the end of the day. If you look at an issue like abortion, you have people who are pro-choice and you have people who are pro-life. And all of that, yes, pro-choice and pro-life, yes. You know, the choice to do whatever you want and the right to live.
Yeah.
You know, so, but in the Congress, you see, if there's a legislation that talks about abortion, you see that at the end of the day, there's bipartisan affiliation, there's a consensus. You know, they're able to give and take. They shift position, shift ground over time after a series of consultations and all of that. So that line is typically blurred. And if you talk about taxation too, you know, the GOP, conservatives, they are more like trying to tax the poor, you know, while the Democrats are trying to tax the rich, to expand the tax net, to capture more rich people than more poor. So the lines are clearly blurred in terms of ideologies. What happens here, why it's easy for people to pour, like I said, is the fact that, look, what's the need for me as an individual? I mean, if I remain in this party up until 2027, am I going to get a ticket to recontest? No, APC is more likely, PDP is more likely, Labour is more likely to give me the target. So those considerations are what essentially influence our politics.
So it has absolutely nothing to do with the people that they claim to represent.
No, it has nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
It's a personal thing. They are all self-serving. They are all self-serving. Look at the only person that still has remained in one party is the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Article has spotted Peter Obi from APGA to PDP to Labour Party now, and nobody knows where he's going next. Article has gone from PDP to APC, back ACN. To PDP to ACN. Daniel Buala, Reno Mokri have gone from APC to PDP and APC back again. So it's all about self, and not in terms of ideological positions and all of that.
And how much growth are the people going to see now if those that represent them change parties or ideology, as one would say, because this party is really how much development should we expect in the coming days?
Development in terms of infrastructure. In terms of infrastructure, what we get is what they give us. The people, unfortunately, we have a people, you know, that who don't even try to hold the government to account. I mean, you were talking about local government chairman now. No, the governor inviting local government chairman instead of chairman.
How much empowerment? I mean, the constitution empowers the people to question those that they elect into office.
Of course, Awolowo, when he was alive, said, for you to get political power, you must have economic power.
So the people need it.
Economic power.
The people.
Yes.
No, it's because the people don't even have the economic power. That is why they should stand their ground to ensure that, look, there is adequate redistribution of wealth so that the government can empower them.
You see, at the base of this, in my own opinion, is not having the right values.
Right values.
You can decide to go against a policy even when you are hungry.
Okay.
Because you have an idea of what you want to achieve.
Value brings me to the video we watched yesterday.
Look at that.
Value, where at the naming ceremony of a child,
somebody gave a pen.
Elders, right there, are saying, "Look, take this pen. With this pen, you will embezzle Nigeria's money." I mean, it's not a sin if you become a governor. It's not a sin if you become a senator. You will embezzle the country's money. So even those that are being born now are being groomed into
both mentally, spiritually,
yes,
into a value system. They are being groomed into a value system. To that person, that is the value.
That's the value.
To that person, that is the value. So who should we hold responsible? Is it the child or the society?
There was a time people would encourage their children to go into sports because they felt, okay, if you get into sports,
you make money.
You make money. So now people are encouraging their children to get into politics, not to develop their society,
but to be part of the looting team.
All right, let's take the contribution of Dr. Bright, who joins us from Benin Station. Dr. Bright, welcome to the conversation. Thanks for staying with us.
I think this is quite interesting. Over time, it's obvious that we don't play politics of ideology, because when you play politics of ideology, you have a value, you have belief, and it is based on that. From among the people who have such belief, who have such value, that somebody is picked. But the other way around is you just come on a platform. If the platform can carry your weight, you stand on it. If it cannot carry your weight, you move to another platform. So we play politics of interest. What is actually in it for me? And because of that, it is where your interest lies. That's where you go. Sometimes when we see, like we mentioned just now, or somewhere like Atiku, Peter Obi, they move from one party to another over time. It is because that is where their interest is. So it is their interest that is pushing them, not the people. That's why they find it difficult to kind of even convince the people, because they want to sell interest, and once they get to the office, they don't even remember those people. And saying that who to blame, we cannot blame the citizens, because these persons, they've created, they know what they are doing. They've created some barriers to ensure that it is only them. Let's say, for example, you want to contest as a governor. They're asking you to pay millions of naira. If you have that millions of naira within your pocket, won't you go and do one business or the other? So they've looked at it. They created strategies to ensure that some persons would not be able to come in. Why have they not even thought about independent candidacy ever since? We're talking about it, but nobody wants to into that, because that would not actually help them. The people are forced to choose between, let me use the word, the devil and the WC, because they don't have a choice. So it's a system, and I don't know how we are going to fight that system to change.
It's okay to disagree.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay to disagree.
Dr. Bright, I disagree with you. The people have a choice to dismantle any barrier that is put in the way of their progress.
How much choice do the people have? The people don't have a choice. The people are, when politicians, when they pay the expression of interest forms and the rest of it, and the parties determine who they want to carry their flag, the people don't have a choice but to align with who they think.
Okay, are we talking about the people in terms of the masses or the contestants themselves?
I'm talking about the masses now.
The masses have a right, they have a choice to vote in who they think is credible.
Who are they going to vote in? Is it not the people that the parties have
Don't
put
you have
forward
credible
already?
people again? Okay, let's go back to Anambra State. The Oba family brought out Ngige and said, look, this is what you have. Okay, before then, Emeka Ofo brought out Chinwokemba Dinuju and said, governor of Anambra State, bam, he went into office. And for how many months? Teachers were owed for like 11, 14 months, or even more than that. Okay. And government moved on. Now, at the point, Anambra people more like resisted and said, no, enough of this. He lost his first term. He lost his re-election bid. Now, Chris Ngige came in, and he was propped up by the Oba brothers, you know, Eselego and all of that. What happened? The man went in there and started doing a different thing altogether. Now, the powers that be in Abuja resisted. You know how they pushed him out of government house and all of that. And Obi went to court, intervened, got his ticket and all of that. Most of the people have a choice. If Dr. Brent says that barriers have been erected. It is the right of people. People have the right, the power to dismantle those barriers.
You see, these barriers that you are taking, they can take away. The point is, what Moses is trying to say is, how do you deviate from the candidates that have been pushed
Yes, you
by the
cannot.
party? For instance, it now becomes choosing from two devils.
You cannot.
You
But there's
understand?
always a better devil. I just cited an
That's the
instance.
point.
That's the point.
See,
But
the thing
but
about
then, if the people have that choice, for instance, if we have a candidate that does not have a political party that can run, independent
candidates, yes.
it makes it better.
It makes it better.
Because
Indeed,
the
it
whole
makes it
the whole
easier. It
mass
makes it easier.
of the people can say,
Can they
of
say,
all these
okay,
candidates,
this
we
is
don't
the one
want,
we want.
but this one we want.
Well,
but in that case, if that candidate that the whole state wants is not proper by a political party, what happens?
Well,
you have to choose between those two devils or three.
Dr. Bright has something to add. Dr. Bright, go ahead, please.
Yes, let me also add, talking about the Anambra state that you made example of, you discover that the people that supported the other person, maybe like Peter Obi, it is when they have division among themselves, that is when they form another clique that will come and fight. At the end of the day, look at all the candidates. There are credible persons there, but they would not, when you look at the aspirants that are coming, they are credible persons. At the end, they don't give any of those credible persons opportunity. Rather, they will give you one that has one issue here, one issue here, one issue here, and you don't have a choice. You have to be forced to start analyzing, okay, this one is a bit better than this one is a bit better than this. No! Why can't you just have somebody who has a clean slate? Slate. Recently, we had election in Edo State. A lot of aspirants came up, and at the end of the day, what happened? Well, when you look at the choice that was made, do you think that choice actually give room for the people to say, okay, well, I am all out for this? They fix themselves. I said, I should stand by. They created some kind of barriers that is only them that will be in that place. If you talk about the president, for example, the president has also moved from one party to another, from AD to AC, then now to APC. As if it's the same party all the while. So it is where their interest. If their interest is in PDP. No.
You created those parties now.
Yes.
He created it himself.
It's difficult for. I don't want to think that there's an entry barrier that cannot be pulled down. What is happening now? Is a process.
You don't have the resources.
Okay. No, he brought all the resources. Well,
if you don't have resources, you can't find them. How? Okay, in the first place, will you go and dole out 500 naira that you want to go and buy a ticket? Then you're not thinking about the cost of campaigning. We've asked INEC before. Let the candidates, let their parties come and give records of how much
the nomination forms, the cost for it, and the expression of interest forms, so that people that have good intentions will vie for office, and not those that will have to borrow the money from somewhere.
Some will even sell their property to buy form.
You see, I understand what we are passing through. I understand that the political class has actually put us inside a hole. We are in a bind, And I was trying to explain earlier. See, what is going on now is not different. A process of historical development. It's a global thing. If you go back to England during the reign of the Stuarts, when John Milton wrote his book Paradise Lost, he said so much in Paradise Lost. He said that more like it's better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, and all of that. And you see, within that period, there was this kind of situation that we are experiencing now. I don't even want to go to France to talk about what the estate generals did with the nobility and all of that. You go to Austria-Hungary, you see, like in 1989, you know about the Seseko movement, where there are certain words I don't want to mention here. What I'm saying is that the people have the power, to dismantle any barrier, one way or the other. Even during the election process, period, you can vote out people that have not performed well.
And vote who in?
And vote another person in. And by the time people understand that, look, if you go there and you don't perform, that will be voted out, you put the fire under their
Okay,
feet.
you vote that person in, whether the person is good or bad.
No. Mostly
You
it's
just
a
vote out
process.
the one. Okay.
You vote out the one that is bad. Now, if the second person that is going in there understands that, look, if I don't perform, I might not get a second term. By the time we do it, we have run this experiment for 25 years now, and we keep recycling. The people have the right, the power to vote out whoever. If we do it consistently for a time, we'll get the right people.
Okay. Like they're doing in Ghana.
Break the eight.
Yeah.
Break the eight.
Yes. That's anyway. Another headline here, still from the Vanguard newspaper. CBN vows to tackle buying, selling of Naira notes. They've been saying this for some time. We know that some people's videos have emerged online, but the police have not said anything. But some have been arrested. So it's now a thing of influence, who you are. Anyway, FG alerts Nigerians over outbreak of anthrax in Zamfara. Poor pay, health workers leaving, hospitals becoming empty. CMDs tell reps. And Nigeria prosecuted 100 terror financiers in 2 years. Tinubu. NLC blames Power Ministry, NERC, for unending grid collapse. Birthright citizenship, civil rights groups sue Trump over executive order. FG working with governors to end menace of out-of-school children. Education minister. And 2025, WEF Africa has woken up. VP Shatima. Tinubu has steered economy in right direction. Bagudu. Now, before we go into, in sports, Mikel lands in Istanbul to convince Osimhen to join Chelsea. Interesting move there. But anyway, Nigeria prosecuted 100 terror financiers in 2 years.
That's it.
All right.
That's it.
The president has said.
Coming from our president.
But we need to have their names. We need to see.
Which court?
In close, maybe tribunals, military tribunals.
In the barracks.
Maybe they were court martial.
In the barracks.
Job Ngajonye.
Did you hear what he said?
How did he hear?
If you ask me, who I go ask. If you ask me, who I go ask.
All right.
No, it's interesting to know that the president is the one telling us this. It is not the CDS. It is not the NSA. It is not the Minister of Defense. It is not the Minister of State for Defense. This is coming directly from the horse's mouth, and a big horse for that matter, the president himself. That 100 terrorist suspects. Financiers. 100 terror financiers were prosecuted in 2 years in Nigeria. And
Are they part of the list of 141?
From 2023.
Are they part of the 200? Are they part of the 200?
400 list. 400 that was sent by UAE. And all
Are
of
they
that.
part of it?
So what this tells us is that look,
Names have not been given.
Names have not been given.
We
No,
have,
the question
shouldn't
is
the names be
the question is where were they prosecuted? Which court?
I just told you. Maybe
Is it
probably
federal?
they were court-martialed in military barracks and all of that.
Okay, so let's for better understanding, let's take part of the story. Let's see how much of it that we can take. The president yesterday announced that Nigeria has successfully prosecuted over 100 terrorist financiers in the past 2 years as part of its ongoing fight against financial crimes and terrorism financing. Now, this effort aims to disrupt the financial network supporting terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP, ultimately safeguarding communities and fostering a secure environment for development. Now, this announcement was made by the SGF, George Akume, who represented the president at the National Anti-Money Laundering, Combating Terrorism Financing and Counter-Proliferation Financing Compliance Summit that was held in Abuja. And he did say something about when you take away their resources, you basically cripple them. But the issue here is, shouldn't Nigerians be made aware of, nothing was said as to the courts or the names
Exactly.
of those that were
prosecuted.
So this is looking like audio prosecution.
Moses, beyond being audio prosecution, I think they just want to give us a talking point. And are we not talking about it now? Just like a talking point.
But there's no logic in this.
How
honest is this?
We don't know.
There's no logic in this.
Because if we have 100 people prosecuted in 2 years, then that over 2 years, over 100 prosecuted in 2 years, then that's a lot. Considering that UAE gave 400 names, we don't know where this 100 is coming
Let us
from.
even agree without conceding that they have prosecuted 100. But we should know the names of these people.
Know the names of the people.
Why would you hide the name of a criminal?
And were they convicted?
And a crime against the state.
Were they convicted? Were they sentenced?
That's
Yes.
another question. They were prosecuted, but were they sentenced? Was there conviction?
And if they were found not guilty, let us know.
No. Who they are.
Who they are.
You put out their names. I was okay. This person.
Why would you choose somebody that is committing crime against the state?
Because this person is innocent.
If you are
so we'll stop calling. We'll stop pointing fingers at these people because we know they are innocent.
If you are prosecuting somebody for that heinous crime against the state, where must you shield the identity of that person? Even if some people had collected about over 400 names. Somebody who is not even within Nigeria has a list of over 400. And you are telling me that you have prosecuted over 100 out of these 400. Yes, we may not have scored you well for not rounding up these 400 people. But even the 100 you are saying you have prosecuted, let us know the level at which the case is. If it is first hearing, second hearing, if it is conviction, if it's acquittal.
Could they be referring to the Binance thing as part of the 100 that they prosecuted?
Binance will just be one or two. One or two, so that one is...
We know of that one.
Binance is...
I think there was a political settlement to the Binance case, and the guys were let go.
They allowed them to go.
Yeah.
They were let go. You see, why this thing is instructive is because
financing terrorism... Should there be a political settlement to that?
Probably,
if they have
probably
financed
there were not.
Terrorism.
Probably there were not.
Probably.
That's why there was that political settlement.
So there's no clarity in all of this.
Good. Now, why this is instructive is because it speaks at the heart of insecurity. The insecurity we are now witnessing is not the people that are carrying the guns. The insecurity we are witnessing are not the people carrying the guns.
But those who are
fueling it, who are financing it by providing those guns. The foot soldiers, you can take them out. And if you take them out, if you don't take out the source, they'll simply recruit.
Re-emergence.
So that is why it is important that we address the issue of financing of insecurity. The other day, there was an allegation that NGOs were largely behind, maybe not financing, but the endurance, the fact that insecurity has endured because they also play around it to the extent that, look, they use it to make money from donor agencies and all of that. But let's move away from that. Let us take it out from the root of it, the root cause. Until you take out the root.
To even back you up in this, your narrative, most of my friends that were in the theater of war at one point or the other, they tell me that when they arrest these Boko Haram insurgents, what is found in them is a loaf of bread and sardine. Not even 1 naira. So those ones are just there. They're the full soldiers. And if you are even attacking these people that have been radicalized, it is not the best way to approach this war. Talk at the base, those who are aiding and abetting. Once you take those who are aiding and abetting and they don't have funding, this thing will fizzle out in no time.
All right, then. Dr. Bright, what's your take on this?
Well, in addition to what we have talked about, I also want to ask, apart from mission, because ordinarily it should be like Mr. A and 99 others have been tried for terror. But it's also good that we also get to know what they classified as the terror. Like some persons who were arrested because they were protesting, don't be surprised that they were part of the 100 they are talking about. So apart from mentioning their names, it's also good that we get to know what qualified as this terror that these persons are being, that that these persons are financing. Because it was mentioned just now, it's just a talking point. Otherwise, details should come out. When Trump was being tried, I believe information about him was all over the news. It was being analyzed and stuff like that. So if there has been a challenge to the country, crippling the economy and so many other things, their names should come out. I recall some years some persons in the Niger Delta were being tried. Their names out. Car bombing in Abuja, they mentioned Henry Oka or one other persons. These names were being mentioned, but now about real terror, why are their names not being mentioned? So whatever statement the president has made, yes, probably that's just the first step. He should go ahead to kind of let's have an analysis of the name. Yes, they were prosecuted, does not mean they were convicted or whatever. At what point did they let go of the hook? Nigerians need details. I could be sitting next to somebody who is or I could be doing business with a person I would not know. So I believe that information, well, is good, but more details should come out of it. Thank you.
To save us, the peddling of rumors and propaganda, because there was a time conversation said that some makers of some cereal were part of terrorist financing in Nigeria. So if you purchase this cereal, you are indirectly
contributing.
Yes.
So
it's really essential that Nigerians know who these people are. So you know exactly. So you won't just rumors around.
I don't see any reason why the names of these people should be shrouded in secrecy.
Anyway, let's look at another conversation now. Let's go to the US again. Let's go to the US. Birthright citizenship, civil rights groups sued Trump over executive order. He has issued the order. If your child is born in the US,
Trump is a bull in China's job.
It means nothing. The child will not automatically become a citizen of the US. And some Nigerians
23 rights groups are taking Trump to court over this.
Oh yes. Taking him to court. And we are crying. Oh my gosh. How does this affect us, really?
Oh, well, it affects us to the extent that we have a very huge diaspora community in the U.S., Africans and Nigerians in particular.
And as you respond to that, let's marry it to the headline that talks about health workers leaving, hospitals becoming empty. And this is coming from the CMDs. Let's marry it because right now, it's not just running to the UK now. I mean, Nigerians cannot even run to the US like they used to because Trump is in office.
Yes.
And we have always, in fact, there was a time our lawmakers here in Nigeria sought a way to reduce the exits of our
nurses. Medical workers.
Yes, exactly. They sought to reduce it. But how well did that go? And now that there are blockages now, will they have no choice but to stay back at home?
Okay, most essentially, I think there are two ways to it now. Let's look at the way it affects Nigeria as a country. Now, the way it affects Nigeria as a country is that, like you said, because it was a status symbol sometime, and when we were in school, somebody would come and, you don't know I'm a citizen. You know I'm a citizen. Yeah. Well, probably the person was born in the UK or in the US. Forgetting that I'm a citizen too because I was born in Nigeria. So citizenship became like a thing of, a classic thing. I'm a citizen. Now, beyond that, you see people, people that are struggling here in Nigeria to survive, but they will do everything, sell property, sell cars, sell land, to send their wives to the US to go and deliver, so that child will have a better life. Beautiful. If that is what you want, I mean, it's not up to me to make choices for you. That is your choice. But all that will end now.
Why are you happy that
I'm not happy.
No, there's this smile hidden in your eyes.
Moses, I'm not happy. I have relations in the US who are fortunately citizens already because they are not going to be
part of the deportation.
They are not going to be part of the deportation. I have them there. So it doesn't make me happy. In one sense. In another sense, what makes me happy is that, look, Nigerians should not leave our fates in the hands of other people. We shouldn't. People should stay here. If you are comfortable staying there, please stay. If you are not comfortable staying here, leave. But those of us here should work hard to build this country. Moses, nobody will build this country for us except ourselves.
We agree.
Nobody will do that. Then on the other side of it is that it is good that, look, we have a Trump, that is doing something, and we have 23 civil rights organizations saying, look, you can't do that. And they are not doing like boxing. They are going to court. And the court is going to be the final arbiter. We have a court that sentenced Trump, that convicted him and sentenced him. He's a felon, the first United States president to get that tag. Whether he's a felon or not, he still remains the president of the United States of America. He's a man of history. History both in the good and the bad. He's a man of history. So that is the tag that is around him. Let the court, decide what happens. That is the essence of democracy. That is the essence of separation of power.
You see, for me, that Trump is pushing out illegal immigrants may not necessarily affect the fortunes of those who are trying to japa in the health sector.
Yes.
Because they have other countries to go.
They will go to Canada.
They will go to Canada.
They will go to parts of Europe, Denmark.
Even Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
But what is instructive here is that I have some of these doctors and nurses that I spoke with. What they usually say, apart from the pecuniary gains they get abroad, is the fact that they lack the necessary tools to work. Today, you talk about laser surgery. Some doctors have practiced 10, 15 years in Nigeria. They don't even have an access to it. Technology keeps evolving every day. The equipment that is obsolete in the US now, when they bring it to Nigeria, they celebrate it as if it's top-notch. So some of these doctors, they also want to pursue their career in a place where they can have access to latest technology. That's why some of them are leaving. Two, the way hospitals are. You need to visit some of these hospitals. Beddings. At a point, in the UCH, you have to buy diesel to power a 500 kV generator. To start a 500 kV generator, if it has not sucked air, you need about 200 liters to even start it. Now imagine somebody whose patient is dying and he needs surgery. You have to cough out about 230,000 naira to buy diesel first. That is apart from the consumables, apart from other fees you pay. Laboratory, you have to pay. And this is an hospital that reagents are supposed to be refrigerated 24 hours. Now, if they take out light for close to 20 hours, those reagents are not likely to function maximally when put into use. So a lot of factors. Government is just paying lip service to the health sector. And only when you are healthy, that's when you can work. And that's when you can earn a living. The health sector is almost dying in Nigeria. Primary health sector, zero. Secondary health sector, tottering. Tertiary health sector, nowhere. There was a time patients were brought from abroad to be treated in UCH. And some of these are teaching hospitals. But today, when people decide to go and treat headache in UK, you don't blame them. Because I've witnessed wrong diagnosis, wrong treatment that has led to death in some cases. And yet, nobody is held accountable for it. So you can't blame those who are leaving the country for elsewhere. They also want to have sanity. They want to work in an environment where they can better their career prospects.
All right, then. Well, let's move on to another headline here. Let's look at Amotekun. Bandits influx. That's from the Punch newspaper now. Bandits influx. Amotekun mobilizes 2,000 men to comb southwest forest. Corps seek advanced technology, arms, better equipment to tackle insecurity in region. Now, there's another I think there's a story here that relates to this same Amotekun story where they said, look, yes, they want arms, but they're definitely not going to lay down, their local arms, which is, the charm, the Jew, that they still
for me,
they believe strongly
for me,
in those ones. But because
if it works for them,
the bandits that they attack have guns, they still want guns, so they will have bante in one hand and AK-47.
AK-47 on the other.
So one or the other will work.
Will be effective. Moses, for me, if their local charms are working for them, so be it. You understand?
That would be interesting to watch.
You see,
really.
I don't like I don't like the way we talk down on African science.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I don't like the way we talk down
Because
on
it
African
has worked.
science.
I've seen it work.
No, we are. That's what we
No,
have.
we are not talking down.
Okay. I like for us to appreciate African science.
But you also know that I took it from his mouth to say
Okay.
that if it's working for them, so be it.
Exactly the point. Why I'm talking about African science is that, look, if a European comes in and flashes something like a singlet to you and tells
science.
And tells you that
If you can explain it,
that this
it's
is
science.
bulletproof, that if you wear it, and someone shoots at you and it's not going to
Penetrate.
and clap hands for him. But if a man from Ijebu says, put this thing inside your clothes, if I shoot you, it won't work. He says it won't penetrate. They say it's charm. What is charm in it? Is it not science?
It's science.
It's the same science. So
No, the question you ask yourself, when King Charles, was to be coronated,
Oh, yes.
there was a particular goat that they respected than even a major in the army on that day, if it were to be in Nigeria.
No.
They say it's sacrifice.
There is a particular stone.
King Charles made it clear, even when he had a
There will always be an explanation.
when he was treating the proper state thing, he made it clear that he goes for herbs. He would rather take herbal drugs than to take the
Synthetic drugs.
Yes, that's it. He made that clear.
So if somebody tells me that Amotekun is deploying local charms along with
local science, please. Local science.
Local science, okay.
Local science. Stop calling it charm.
Okay,
It's
sorry.
science.
Local science.
African science.
I'm better schooled now.
African science.
African science.
According to Olamide,
I'm better schooled now.
students.
So for me, the important thing is that they win this war and bring peace back to the Southwest. For me, it's good. It's game.
No, that's my position as well. And I like the fact that, there's something that happened the other day, and I like the fact that you made some clarification. Was it you or Akifa together? Why Lagos State is not part of Amotekun?
They don't have forests.
And because they don't have
I
forests.
was the one that said it.
You were the one that said it.
Yes.
So there is no need contributing to something that you
will not benefit from.
It doesn't mean that Lagos is not part of South.
Yes.
No. But essentially what they are doing, what Amotekun is doing,
It's to comb the
is
forest.
to comb the forest.
I told you
And
the
because
other day,
if they stay in the communities, if they stay in Molete, or if they stay in Chile,
what
they'll
is the
start
essence of the
dragging-
police?
They will start
Dragging
dragging
with the police.
No, not just with the police, with the Aberos who are also collecting levies and all of that. So it will amount to another form of insecurity.
I said it. I said, if you see one Amotekun on the streets, anywhere in Southwest, there are about 50 in the forest.
in the forest, good.
And that's what brought about this relative peace we enjoy in the Southwest.
And I think the governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, should copy what Amotekun is doing. Because essentially, Agune Chamber, Udogachi, you should copy it because essentially the insecurity festers in the hinterland. When I say not clearly on governed spaces, but within the hinterland, where you don't have police presence all the time, where you don't have enough
And
security
it's easy
presence.
because they are just sitting dogs around those villages.
Exactly. So they should be pushed into the communities,
Strike and go back.
And it is good that they are also being taken from members of the
Community.
So it's more like also local policing.
Yes.
Exactly.
So when someone was trying to say that an Amotekun could transform into a state police,
I said so.
You said so. Could transform into a state police. We have something like that that could also transform into a state police in Anambra State. By the time this government, gets through with its idea to have state police across the 36 states and the federal capital territory. By the way, we've not heard about what the FCT minister is saying about state policy. The last thing we heard was that 6 state governors had approved of it. Nobody has heard anything from the FCT minister.
They are working.
Have you?
They are working on the ground.
Okay.
It's
okay.
Oh, well, we're gradually closing home now. Let's take some more headlines. Still on the Punch newspaper. Tinubu promises fairness as Ogoni oil exploration plan resumes. Nigeria's public debt hits 142 trillion naira. Oh yes. I think we didn't go to Benin Station where Dr. Bright Onovio Kuka is standing by. Dr. Bright, would you want to chime into the conversation before we move on to other stories here?
Well, thank you for getting to me. I think I will take us back a little bit because we were discussing about health workers, and of course, I'm a medical doctor, so to say something about that, because it's not enough to blame the workers who are moving away, but we should also look at is the enabling environment being created. What some of these leaders, they go outside, they see the way are being run. What have they put in, to kind of step up the place? Somebody talked about diesel. How will you, as a doctor, you are on duty, going to beg a janitor to put on maybe generator or something? Care is an essential service. So we should also treat it in an essential way. What are the available training facilities? What are the incentives to encourage health workers? There are risks attached to it, and so many. All these things they are not that one should do with maybe politics or whatever. There should be proper investments. And I would still say our hospitals are being depleted. Many doctors are still not employed in the services. Many of them are still there running one private service because they couldn't get employment in the service. We still have to pay for trainings. You still have to do from your pocket thing. What is the government doing about it? Say, oh, people are running away. You bills to pay, and if things put in place for you to work, like we are in the studio, for example, now, if the studio is not conducive, I don't believe we're going to sit in here to do whatever thing we have to do. When you go to some places where our doctors, our nurses, our lab scientists, and others are working, you begin to wonder, how do they actually cope in this place? Starting from even their consulting table and their consulting, that if government want to talk about this brain drain or JAPA syndrome, they have to do some holistic thing. Don't also forget that there are so many ethics binding this profession, and haven't gone through the training. You are restricted by these ethics. You don't want to act in a way that it will go against these ethics. And when you go outside, they uphold the ethics, and it makes it comfortable for you to actually work the way you used to work. There have been some CMDs in some hospitals in Benin. They put, let me just mention a particular name. Professor Okmere at a time when he was CMD or CBT, put a good working environment. So even it was not affected to him, you could actually see it working very well in a way that you are encouraged to stay within the hospital and attend to patients. When you see things that you need to work, you treat your patients, they are getting better and they are going home, they see you tomorrow, and so, doctor, for what you have done for me, you get your satisfaction. But those things are not there. It becomes a real thing. And down to the Amotekun insecurity issue, what we need is information. Once we can communicate and have the right information, I believe things will go on well. I think that's all for me from here.
That will be all. That will be a good place to anchor the conversation today. Big thanks to Dr. Bright Onovio Kuka, a public affairs analyst, human rights activist. Thank you very much. Join us from our Benin station. Thanks for your contribution on the program. Also, thanks to Dele Fanimo, who is a seasoned reporter, VOP analyst. Thank you very much for your time as well.
Always my pleasure.
I am Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day. All right, bye for now.
I am Chukuma Okoro. Thanks for joining us on the show, and bye for now.